She started doing this after I married her. Wang exposes the unexpected side of Shen Yue that changed his life forever. It was not a red carpet event. It was not a movie premiere or a televised awards night. It was something quieter, something deeper. The cameras were rolling, but the studio was wrapped in calm. The stage was bare. Only one chair. One man. One truth waiting to be told. Wang sat tall yet thoughtful, the kind of posture that belongs to someone who has lived through more than he lets on. His fingers laced loosely together, his voice low but clear. The host had asked a simple question: how has marriage changed you? And then Dylan gave the world something it never expected. He looked directly into the lens, smiled with the quiet weight of memory, and said, "She started doing this after I married her." The words fell gently, but the silence that followed was thunderous. And then he began. The morning that changed everything. I didn't know it at first, Dylan admitted, leaning back slightly. I was always the one to wake up second. She's always been an early riser. I assumed she was working on scripts or reading. She's always been quietly disciplined. But 3 weeks into their marriage, on a particularly cold morning in their home nestled in the outskirts of Sanya, Dylan woke earlier than usual. He noticed the space beside him in bed was empty, still warm from where she had been. He rubbed his eyes, pulled on a hoodie, and wandered down the hallway barefoot. What he saw made him stop in the doorway and simply stare. Shen Yue was kneeling by the window in the soft golden morning light. She was surrounded by sheets of paper, delicate pens, ribbons, and a small glass jar. Her hair was tucked into a messy bun. A cup of tea sat beside her, steam rising like a dream. And she was writing. One letter after another. Folding each into a tiny origami crane. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one slipped into the jar. She didn't know I was watching, Dylan said. I stood there for 10 minutes. I didn't want to disturb her. I wanted to remember that moment forever. The habit she never meant to reveal. Later that day, Dylan asked her casually about it. She smiled shyly, her fingers playing with the edge of her sleeve, and said, "It's just a silly thing. A habit." But it wasn't silly. And it wasn't small. Every day since their wedding, Shen Yue had written one note. Sometimes more. A thought. A memory. A moment. A promise. Then she would fold it carefully, with hands full of grace, into a crane. She placed each one into the jar without saying a word. She told me it was her way of keeping us grounded, Dylan said. Of remembering that even on the hardest days, love was still there. Still building. Still flying. He found out later that the jar wasn't the only one. There were others. One for their future child. One for when they were old. One that she planned to open with him on their 10th anniversary. Each filled with paper wings and invisible devotion. Love hidden in small things. She's the kind of woman who loves through the invisible things, Dylan continued, his voice thick with emotion. She doesn't shout. She doesn't post about it. She just does it. Quietly. Constantly. He recalled a night during a film shoot in Europe. Long hours. Cold rain. 1,000 decisions weighing him down. He returned to their rented flat well past midnight, exhausted and silent. Waiting for him on the kitchen counter was a thermos of soup. Next to it was a folded crane. He opened it. It said, "You do not have to speak. Just rest. I'm here." Dylan smiled faintly at the memory. She had already gone to bed. But she knew. The Garden of Dates. Their love story was full of such quiet things. Dylan spoke next of a secret garden Shen Yue had built behind their villa. At first, he thought it was simply for beauty, flowers, trees, a winding stone path. But one day, as they walked together hand in hand beneath a dusky sky, Shen Yue stopped at a tree with soft pink blossoms and said, "This one was planted the day we met." She pointed to a row of white lilies. "This was the day you told me you loved me." And there, beside a small bench, stood a single cherry tree. "This one," she said, her voice trembling, "was planted the day you asked me to be yours forever." Dylan was speechless. Every flower had a date. Every tree had a meaning. She had been mapping their love into the soil beneath their feet. The reaction of the world. As Dylan's words aired across global networks, fans and media alike were shaken by the depth and purity of the story. "She is writing a love story in real time," one fan posted. "And we are lucky just to witness it." Another wrote, "Shen Yue does not perform love. She lives it. Quietly. Faithfully. Like a prayer made out of paper and patience." Artists across Asia began sketching glass jars full of origami cranes. Writers penned letters to future lovers. Poets posted tributes to the kind of love that lives outside of fame. A cultural wave was born, the quiet love movement, inspired by Shen Yue's habit of loving silently and deeply. The cranes that saved a man. Dylan ended the interview with a final, unforgettable moment. "There was a night," he said, "that I won't forget. A night when I questioned everything. My career. My choices. Even my worth as a husband. She found me in the study, sitting in the dark. She said nothing. She handed him the jar. And she walked away. I opened 5 cranes that night," he said, his eyes glistening. "One after the other. And somewhere between the 3rd and the 4th, I started breathing again." He looked at the camera. "She didn't rescue me. She reminded me that I was never lost. What she started after the wedding wasn't a habit. It was a vow. A vow not spoken at the altar. Not broadcast to the world. A vow written one letter at a time. Folded into wings. Tucked into glass. Left to wait until the moment it would be needed most." Final words from Dylan. "If you are lucky enough to find someone like her," Dylan said, "don't wait. Don't question. Don't let fear speak louder than your heart. Because the right person will not always declare their love loudly. Sometimes they will whisper it into folded paper and hide it where only you will find it." He paused. "And when you do, never let them go. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below and turn on notifications so you never miss an update."